Yesterday, I had a meeting with Frank, my former colleague, who had an interesting conundrum. He was challenged by his boss to facilitate a session where all the participants were going to be physically in a room with no online devices, and Frank as a facilitator on the wall on a screen. Now, how do you go about to do that?
It makes me think how you'd facilitate if you were facilitating a group on Mars. I bet NASA would have a solution to this. Um, I there's some weird structurally inherent power problem going on there. I mean, if the whole room wanted to talk and you're just on a wall, what would you do? Especially if they've not got digital devices. If everyone was in a shared digital environment, then you could do something about that with a Jamboard or put something up. Um, of course, you could use a really old-fashioned facilitation technique. You could just chair it like it's a meeting.
Yes.
Here's an agenda. We'll talk about this here for this amount of time, that amount of time. But what if you were on Mars, Svein, and you weren't just on a wall, but there was a 5-minute time delay between you and the group you're facilitating?
It's quite a different challenge, but of course you could pre-script stuff. We kind of know how to do this, but you could actually, as a facilitator, take part in the planning. You can set up a structure. You could talk about the goal. Now we're talking about how to design the session when people are on Mars. And you can say, so these would be the rules for the session. These are the timelines. You do this, this, and this. But this, here you need to might have a co-facilitator on Mars.
Yeah, so you'd have that kind of structure. And often I see, when I started out facilitating, I was taught like that. I was taught, you ask these questions, the exercise is 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, you ask these questions, you do that. So you could pre-write that into a PowerPoint presentation and a video or something. And sometimes setting simple, good rules and letting a group run with it lets them do glorious things. I think these questions are going to become more live as people are in these hybrid environments more. What's the takeaway, Svein?
Well, for us, it's a challenge to see how can we make people do this more themselves and maybe aid them by having preset kind of sessions and help them go on with it. But that requires maybe some strict regulations. But anyway, in facilitation, a good facilitated session, people shouldn't really focus on the facilitator anyway, but on themselves. So if you remove the facilitator, which we are doing here, the session could still be good, pre-scripted. Why don't test that? We're going to test that out here in Tromsø.
And I'm going to ask that question of people when they ask me to facilitate things online or offline. How would NASA do this with people on the International Space Station or Mars?